7 bone-chilling night drive horror tales that will haunt your autumn adventures forever. The moon hung low and ominous that night, casting a sickly yellow glow over the winding back roads. Lila could feel the sweat trickling down her back, mixed with the cool autumn breeze that whispered old tales of dread. Her heart raced, echoing the rev of her engine as she gripped the steering wheel tight, the rubber tires of her car carving a lonely path through the encroaching shadows. This was no ordinary drive. Rumors of ghostly figures lurking just beyond the tree line danced like phantoms in her mind. Her friends had laughed, teasing her about the stories from the old diner down the road, but now, nerves tingling, she felt their words wrap around her neck like a noose. Just after midnight, she came across a faded sign, "Dead Man's Curve." Her breath hitched as an icy chill snaked through the car. Every hair on her body stood at attention. Was that a shadow flickering just at the edges of her headlights? She squinted through the glass, but only darkness stared back, cold and unwelcoming. As she rounded that infamous bend, the radio crackled to life. A voice emerged, low, distorted, hauntingly familiar. "Welcome to the dark side of the road," it rasped. Lila's eyes shot wide, and she nearly swerved off the asphalt. What in the world? She slammed the button to change the station, but static filled the air, drowning out her heartbeat. A moment later, the whispers came back, echoing louder now, twisting into creaky laughter that clawed at the corners of her sanity. Suddenly, her headlights flickered, casting eerie shadows that danced along the roadside. Was that a figure standing on the edge? Lila squinted again, but the figure disappeared as fast as it had appeared. Panic rose like bile in her throat, her hands trembling on the wheel. On the verge of turning back, an inexplicable pull urged her to keep driving. She fought the urge to scream, but felt the cold grip of fear tighten around her chest. "Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. With her heart pounding, Lila pressed the gas, but the engine sputtered. The growling sound from beneath the hood nearly drowned out the whispers now spiraling into a frenzy. "Turn back, it's not safe," they echoed, taunting her. Just as she thought she might lose her mind completely, she noticed a flicker of light ahead, an old abandoned house, half hidden by the twisted branches. Out of instinct, the urge to explore overpowered her fear. Maybe it was just an old relic or a warning sign. The car creaked as it rolled to a stop, and she stepped out, the ground crunching beneath her boots. The air turned thick, a suffocating afterthought of what once was. Suddenly, a cold breeze whirled around her, spinning with whispers that felt like icy fingers on her skin, and from the shadows, a pair of glowing eyes blinked back at her, much too close for comfort. What was waiting for her within? Did she dare step closer, or was this where her story would end? Lila's breath stilled as she stood frozen at the door of the dilapidated house. The eerie glow of those eyes seemed to pierce her soul, drawing her in closer. Was she really ready to confront whatever darkness lingered there? Shadows danced along the creaky porch, almost beckoning her forward. A pulse of desperate curiosity mingled with the paralyzing fear that gripped her. "Just take a look," the whispers teased again, slithering through the air, wrapping around her ankles like chains. With one trembling hand, she reached out towards the ancient door, the wood splintered and gnarled, a sculpted warning of age and secrets. The moment her fingers touched the cold, rusted doorknob, a jolt ran through her, a surge that felt all too alive. The door groaned as she pushed it open. It swung inward slowly, creaking like a wounded animal. A foul scent wafted out, a mix of mildew and something she couldn't quite identify. Lila grimaced but stepped inside, the wooden floors creaking beneath her weight. The musty darkness enveloped her like a wet blanket. She fumbled for her phone, illuminating her surroundings with a weak beam of light. What had once been a living room was now a graveyard of broken furniture, remnants of past lives, their memories scattered like autumn leaves. Moth-eaten curtains fluttered in the slight breeze, albeit there were no apparent openings to allow such movement. As she stepped further in, a sudden chill swept through the room, wrapping around her like an icy embrace. With every breath, her heart screamed louder. Suddenly, the whispers morphed into a chilling chant, rising and falling like a wave crashing over her. Turn back, they echoed, and she felt the walls close in, a claustrophobic grip tightening around her throat. She spun around, the beam of light bouncing off the peeling wallpaper, creating monstrous shapes that flickered and shifted. A sudden noise cut through the atmosphere, a loud thud that sent her heart racing. From the corner of her eye, she saw something move. Panic surged as she swung the light toward the source. For a moment, nothing. Just darkness, heavy and oppressive. But then, there it was, a shadow darting across the room, too quick to identify but tangible enough to send a jolt through her. "Who's there?" she whispered, her voice trembling. No answer. Just a chilling silence that seemed to laugh at her courage, punctuated by the creaking of the floorboards above. She turned cautiously, that instinct pulling her a warning. The attic? Her breath quickened again. What could be up there? Desire and fear warred within her. She tiptoed toward the staircase that spiraled up into the unknown, each step an act of defiance against the terror curling in her stomach. The whispers crescendoed, urging her on, find the truth, find the truth. The wooden boards groaned beneath her weight, threatening to crumble, as if even the house resisted her intrusion. Just as she reached the top step, an ear-piercing scream rent the air from deep within the shadows. A voice much louder than the whispers, shriller and far more desperate. Lila gasped, her heart slamming against her ribs. Someone or something was up there, and it was waiting for her. Had she stumbled upon a long-buried secret? Or was she about to become part of the very mystery that frightened the townsfolk? She took a deep breath, steeling herself for the step into the attic. Would she find answers or the very thing that haunted this cursed place? Lila's heart pounded in her ears, drowning out the chilling whispers that seemed to swirl around her. With a determined push, she opened the attic door, which groaned in protest, awakening ancient dust that swirled through the weak beam of her phone's light. It felt less like she had entered a new room and more like she had breached a realm where time had forgotten to tread. The attic was a tableau of forgotten memories, boxes stacked to the ceiling, an old trunk sitting forlornly in the corner, and cobwebs that hung like ghostly veils. Every inch seemed to breathe with a weight of sorrow. The air was thick, charged with a silent energy that made her skin prickle. As Lila stepped inside, shadows snapped at the edges of her vision. Something felt wrong beyond the creep of decay. There was a palpable tension. It hung in the air like a storm about to break. She took a few tentative steps, her feet sinking into the dust as she tried to steady her breath. "Why are you here?" The voice cut through the silence, sharp and jagged. An echo of pain, like shattered glass. Ice slid down her spine. She spun around, the light flickering wildly, and there, emerging from the velvety darkness, stood a girl, a specter with hollow eyes and lips curled in a haunting smile. Lila's gut twisted. She wanted to run, but her feet were rooted to the floor. "Who are you?" she managed to ask, her voice rasping out of her throat. "I am what they left behind," the girl replied, her voice barely above a whisper. "You shouldn't have come here." A surge of questions pounded in Lila's mind. What had the townsfolk known? What secrets lay within these walls? The girl stepped forward, revealing herself, her figure flickering like a dying flame. Her dress was old-fashioned, stained and tattered. Lila wanted to reach out, to do something, but dread washed over her. "Find the truth," the girl urged, her eyes flickering with an ember of desperation. "You're the only one who can." Suddenly, the air grew colder, thick with foreboding. The attic door slammed shut behind Lila with a deafening thud, plunging her into darkness, save for the quivering light of her phone. Panic surged as she rushed to the door. It held fast, unyielding, as if the house itself had come alive, determined to keep her inside. The whispers rose again, angry and chaotic, drowning her thoughts. "Leave! Leave!" they shrieked, echoing in her mind as the shadows thickened. She squeezed her eyes shut, felt her breath quicken, tried to block out the sound. But the pressure around her chest tightened like a vice. "Help me," the girl's voice cleaved through the chaos, steady but tinged with sorrow. "Help me remember." A new fear gripped Lila. What had happened to her? Why was she trapped here, bound to this place and the darkness it exuded? The girl was lost in a veil of heartbreak, and Lila could feel it, visceral and real. Could she dare to discover the truth that even the dead couldn't forget? Driven by a mix of compassion and sheer terror, Lila turned back, her heart racing as she faced the fragile figure. "What do I need to do?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. But the shadows sprang closer, and Lila felt the very air throb with tension. An answer was circling, but what would it reveal? Before she could process more, a loud crash rang through the house below, followed by an unearthly wail that echoed through the attic, shaking her to her core. "Lila!" the girl gasped, eyes wide, terrified. "They're coming. You must hurry." In that moment, Lila was faced with a choice: uncover the dark threads woven into the house's past or run from the horrors that awaited. But what if the truth was worse than she could imagine? With determination, she took a step forward, ready to dive deeper into the mysteries that haunt this cursed place. The moment Lila took that step, she felt the floorboards shudder beneath her, as if the very house responded to her movement. She hesitated, her heartbeat pounding frantically against her ribs. "What do I need to find?" she whispered, hoping the girl would provide a clue before whatever hunted her could reach the attic. "Memories," the girl intoned. "They're trapped in the trunk." Her spectral gaze flicked to the tattered trunk in the corner, a shadow of a memory in itself. "You must open it before they come." Every instinct screamed at Lila to flee, to slam against the door until it let her out. Yet, something about the girl's voice drew her in a desperate urgency that made Lila's stomach clench. The trunk lay beckoning, its faded leather glinting under the weak light. With trembling hands, Lila moved toward it. The whispers rose again, rising to a fever pitch, drowning out her thoughts. "Hurry! Hurry!" they cried. She wiped the sweat gathering on her brow, her fingers brushing against the cold, worn surface of the trunk. As she knelt before it, she found the latch stubborn and rusted, holding tight as if it too was afraid of what lay within. She grunted and pulled harder, channeling her fear into strength. With a sudden snap, the latch sprung open, and the lid creaked upward. Inside was a trove of forgotten items, an old diary, yellowed with age, a single cracked photograph framed by the tattered remains of a quilt, and a small, dust-covered music box that held an eerie stillness. Lila felt something ripple through the air, a shiver that traveled down her spine, as if something watched from the depths of the trunk. She reached for the diary first, flipping it open. The pages whispered secrets of a life-long past. Scribbled notes filled with an innocent longing but twisted as they faded into pages of despair. Lila gasped as she read a name, scrawled in a hurried scrawl: Clara. Clara. She looked up at the girl's eyes, which widened in recognition. "Is that you?" "I was Clara," the girl replied, her voice laced with a sorrowful echo. "But they took my light, and left me in darkness." In that moment, Lila felt a surge of warmth rising in her chest, a flicker of connection that momentarily pushed back the encroaching shadows. But just as quickly, an oppressive cold surged through the room. The attic floor creaked ominously, and Lila felt that something was coming. The shadows deepened, coiling tighter around her like a constricting serpent. She turned to the music box, her hands trembling as she lifted it, feeling its weight. "What do I do with this?" "Play it. It will awaken the truth," Clara urged, her voice growing faint. The wails from below escalated, shrill and desperate, as if the house itself was crying out in agony. With shaking hands, Lila flipped the tiny latch on the music box and opened it. A melody filled the air, soft and haunting, weaving through the chaos like a silver thread. Time seemed to halt, but as the notes danced around her, she felt the shadows begin to tug, almost as if they were alive. Then, like a dam breaking, visions flooded into her mind, memories that were not her own, horror and despair colliding in a whirlwind of images. Clara's face, once vibrant, flickered between joy and agony, trapped in a cycle of heart-wrenching sorrow. "Run!" Clara's voice pierced through the veil of memory. "You have to run." Lila went cold. The truth was unfurling, and it threatened to consume her. Fear clawed at her throat, urging her to flee, but instead, something twisted inside her. There was no turning back now. The echoes of pain were wrapping around her like chains, pulling her deeper into the heart of the dark. Suddenly, a loud crash sounded again from below, shaking the very foundations of the house. The attic door splintered, and Lila's breath hitched in her throat as she caught sight of shadowy figures moving closer, their edges wreathed in darkness. "Oh God, no!" Lila turned back to Clara, but the specter's face was impassive, her expression lost in shadows as she faded. "The truth, Lila. Find the truth." And with that, Lila was yanked back to reality, the music box still sounding its haunting melody, but she knew she had to decide. Face the approaching horror or risk the consequences of unveiling the secrets painted in Clara's memories. Could she escape the grip of the past? Or would the shadows claim her too? The music played on, and Lila braced herself for what was coming next. Lila's heart raced as the shadows twisted closer, pooling on the attic floor like oil, slick and suffocating. The melody from the music box, though soothing, wrapped her in a thin veil of terror. Each note seemed to echo the urgency of her situation, each rise and fall shifting her perspective between fear and compelled curiosity. "Think, Lila," she murmured to herself, eyes darting between Clara's fading visage and the darkness advancing at a relentless pace. What was the truth she needed to uncover? Why was Clara trapped here? The shadows surged forward, reaching for her, their cold fingers curling around her ankles. Instinct took over. Lila scrambled to her feet, clutching the music box tightly against her chest. "I can't stay here," she gasped, the attic door splintering further as something monstrous hammered against it, a darkness that echoed with the cries of the damned. She glanced back at the trunk, then at the diary still splayed open on the floor. The words spilled secrets onto the wood, hinting at forgotten fears and dreams long abandoned. The truth? Was that the key? She had to face the memories that Clara had kept locked away, brutal and raw, if she ever wanted to understand why this place felt so cursed. Lila dropped the music box and dashed to the diary, skimming the pages as the shadows whispered maliciously, threatening to steal her breath away. A name, another name scribbled in frantic ink caught her eye, Jonathan. Who was he? A lover, a friend, or perhaps a tormentor? "Clara!" she called out, desperation heavy in her voice. "Tell me what happened. I can help you." But Clara's form only flickered more violently, swallowed by shadows as if even she were afraid of what lay ahead. "The darkness, it feeds on fear. You have to confront them before they consume all of us." Another crash, this time, the attic door gave way, splintering entirely. And in the flickering shadows stood tall silhouettes, their sharp edges glimmering with malice. Lila gasped, recognizing their forms as the shadows of people, distorted faces filled with anguish, their mouths opening in silent screams. They were Jonathan and others those Clara had known. Lila's breath caught in her throat. The memories were piled on top of one another, a chaotic sequence of heartache, betrayal, and horror. Clara had trapped them here, sealed them in with her pain. But now, they were reaching out, clawing at her soul, desperate to free themselves. "No!" Lila screeched, backpedaling towards the trunk. The shadows swarmed, and she felt the cold bite of despair as one sharp, shadowy hand closed around her wrist. "Let go!" she screamed, jerking her hand free as she stumbled backward, knocking the trunk over with a loud crash. The diary spilled open, pages fluttering wildly like the wings of a trapped bird. And just then, a brilliant flash filled the attic, illuminating the darkness. Lila shielded her eyes from the sudden burst of light as the shadows hissed, writhing in agony. A figure emerged from the brilliance, a younger Clara, full of life and hope, who stood between Lila and the advancing darkness. "You have to stand with me," the young girl urged, her voice resonating with a strength Lila didn't know she had. "But how?" Lila shouted over the cacophony of shadowy moans. "Embrace the memories. Only then can we break the chains. Jonathan must be freed." With her heart racing, Lila reached into the trunk and gripped the diary, pulling it close. The shadows began to shrink back as the vibrant warmth of Clara's spirit ignited against the darkness. The air thickened with a palpable energy. "Join us. Remember," Clara cried, and Lila felt a rush of cold sweat bead on her skin. But what could she remember? What if she stepped too far into the memories? Just as she began to ponder, a deafening roar of frustration erupted from the shadowy figures, spiraling into chaos. Lila's voice broke through the tempest of agony. "I choose to remember. I choose to fight." As the diary's pages flipped through Lila's fingers like a gust of wind, visions exploded before her eyes, scenes of love, laughter, betrayal, and ultimately, heart-wrenching despair. Her connection to Clara deepened, forging a bond that transcended time itself. "Trust me, Clara," Lila whispered, feeling the warmth of friendship blend with her fear. The shadows screamed, resisting the truth that threatened to engulf them. Would this communion be enough to free Clara and exorcise the darkness? As Lila pulled deeper into the vortex of memories, the shadows knotted tighter, rising to reclaim their own. It was now or never. As the final notes of the haunting melody thrummed in rhythm with Lila's heartbeat, she closed her eyes, prepared to confront the darkness head-on, and step fully into the memories that could save them all, or doom them forever. Would she uncover the truth that lay buried within them? Or would it push her further into the abyss? Lila felt the pulse of her heartbeat match the frantic rhythm of the music box, each note swelling and swirling around her. The attic was alive with energy, vibrating with the intensity of the memories clawing at the surface. She threw herself into the whirlwind of images illuminated by Clara's youthful glow, trying to remember the pieces of a past she never lived. She saw Jonathan's face, clear yet haunted, surrounded by laughter that echoed like distant thunder. She watched him gaze into Clara's eyes, but that gaze quickly turned to something darker, a flash of betrayal flickering like a candle in the wind. It was the color of envy, painted across their youthful innocence, twisting into something grotesque as shadows loomed. "Why?" Lila gasped, choking on a wave of sorrow. Why did it have to end this way? The darkness surged, a monstrous tide that threatened to sweep her away, yet Clara's spirit blazed brighter. He was torn between love and his demons. He chose wrong. "You must understand that, Lila. Only then can we break free." As Clara's words washed over her, Lila felt the boundaries of her own heart expand, a connection kindled in the ashes of pain. Each flicker of memory was a thread pulling her deeper into the past, yet she held tight, determined not to drown. A scream erupted from the shadows, a sound that tore through Lila's resolve like a razor. Shadowy hands grasped at her limbs, as if in an attempt to drag her away from Clara's light. She felt despair clawing at her throat, constricting like a vice. In that moment, she understood what Clara had meant. The darkness grew stronger with every moment of fear, another reminder of what wasn't meant to be. "Clara, help us remember," Lila pleaded, her voice trembling with urgency, and then the memories began to merge. She saw Jonathan and Clara together, sunlight spilling through a century-old tree where laughter echoed the promise of love. But just as quickly, it changed. The shadows swirled again, revealing Jonathan collapsing into despair, driven by jealousy and regret. The air thickened with electric tension, wrapping around Lila like a noose as the past unveiled its monstrous truth. His fear turned to rage. Clara's voice sang out, clear yet reverberating with anguish. He thought he had lost me. And in that moment, he did the unforgivable. A powerful force pulled Lila toward an image of a crumpled piece of paper, the letter that must have severed their bond. She felt it calling to her, begging to be seen. With a swift motion, she dived into the memory, reaching for the letter suspended in the darkness. The moment her fingers brushed the edges of the faded parchment, another scream rang out. Shadows twisted violently, and Lila was thrown back into the attic, gasping for breath. She held the letter, its ink barely legible. But as she read the twisted words, her heart sank. It detailed a love turned bitter, a betrayal rooted in desperation. Lila shoved the memory aside but found the shadows closing in, more frantic, more desperate. They continued to moan and writhe, their anguish echoing through the attic like an ominous song. "Make them see," Clara urged, her voice rising above the chaos. "Make them remember the truth." Lila's resolve intensified. "You were never forgotten, I'm right here with you," she shouted, standing strong against the flood of shadows. With a newfound determination, Lila focused on the moments of love, the laughter, the shared dreams, everything Jonathan and Clara once cherished. She poured every ounce of energy into those memories, creating a beacon for the lost souls spiraling into darkness. The shadows hesitated but began to shift, drawn back by the warmth of Clara's spirit. But as the chaos swirled around her, Lila could sense another presence, something even darker lurking on the outskirts of the shadows, watching patiently. Her pulse quickened, and dread clawed at her mind. What if the darkness didn't only want Clara and Jonathan? What if it wanted her too? The urgency of the moment pressed against her, wrapping around her like a chill. Lila wasn't just unearthing memories, she was stirring something long buried, something that might consume them all, and just as she tightened her grip on that fragile light of love and hope, the shadows coalesced into a single, towering figure. It spoke, low and guttural. "You willed them to remember, but will you survive the truth?" Lila's heart pounded with an overwhelming fear. She had sparked something monumental, but now the real battle was about to begin. Would she be able to fight against this new threat while trying to free Clara and the others? Or would she become trapped as well? The figure loomed closer, its presence cold and suffocating. The shadows thickened around Lila, twisting, writhing as if tasting her fear. "You think you can save them with memories?" The voice snarled, its tone dripping with malevolence. "What if those memories are the very chains that bind them to their fate?" Lila felt her breath hitch in her throat. She could sense Clara's spirit faltering, the light dimming as the darkness pressed in. "No. Not now," Lila shouted, forcing every ounce of courage into her voice. "Clara deserves to be free. Jonathan too." The swirling shadows shuddered at her defiance, momentarily recoiling before the figure stretched an elongated hand. Its fingers curled like talons, fingers worn and weary with grief. "They are caught in their web of sorrow, and you, dear Lila, are the unwitting weaver of this everlasting nightmare." With a loud thud, Lila's heart echoed in tandem with her racing thoughts. She was caught in a struggle that went beyond time, beyond memory. A sliver of understanding cut through the chaos, igniting the flame of determination. No. Their love can ignite more than just pain. It can break this. She quickly glanced at Clara, who stood pale yet fierce, a haunting glow battling against the surrounding despair. "Clara, remember the joy. Remember the laughter." The moment the words left her lips, a burst of brilliant light fractured the gloom. Lila focused, channeling the essence of their lost love. The attic vibrated with electric energy, the scattered memories swirling around her. She envisioned Clara and Jonathan's fateful summer, sun-drenched afternoons, and the sound of their laughter that once filled the air with warmth. "Don't forget," Lila urged, her voice rising above the shadows. "The moments that made you whole. The love that still lingers." As if called by her command, Clara's spirit flickered brightly and responded. Memories flooded the attic, cascading down like shimmering leaves, each one bringing with it echoes of joy and tenderness. Lila watched as Jonathan's face transformed, joy breaking through the darkness that cloaked him, but the figure was undeterred, its voice low and menacing. "You think love is a shield? Love can turn into a weapon. Look closer, child." They loved, and that love twisted into something far more sinister. Lila's heart clenched as a fresh wave of shadows rippled, unveiling scenes of betrayal, anger, and despair. She saw Jonathan's face contort with fury, the anguish of loss turning him into a monster, thrusting the knife deeper into Clara's heart. "No! This isn't the whole story!" Lila screamed. She felt the weight of despair settle on her chest, it threatened to crush her. "Clara and Jonathan can rise above this. We won't let them fall." Summoning every ounce of strength, she reached out to the flickering spirit of Clara. "Remember your dreams, Clara. The love that ignited your passion. Fight for it." Clara's glow steadied, her eyes brightening with newfound resolve. "Lila, together." She echoed, and they united in a radiant pulse of energy. "Awake!" Lila commanded, feeling the warmth of hope surge through her. "Awake from this nightmare." The shadows screamed, a cacophony of rage and agony as Clara and Jonathan were bathed in light. The tower of darkness cracked, fissures cascading through it, but it loomed large, the figure unyielding. You cannot save them from themselves, nor can you shield yourself from the darkness you have stirred. Just then, Lila's focus narrowed. Beneath the shadows, something glimmered, a glint of gold. The music box, now almost dulled by time, remained steadfast amidst the chaos. If she could somehow harness its power, before she could react, the shadows lunged forward, wrapping around her legs like creeping vines. The towering figure grinned maliciously, its eyes glowing with triumph. "You wished for remembrance, but now you will face the consequences of the truth. The question is, can you bear it?" As Lila struggled against the thick tendrils of despair, a deafening silence enveloped the attic, a void brimming with unspeakable tension. She felt herself sliding deeper into the abyss, losing her grip on the fragile light, but somewhere within that darkness, the music box began to play. Its haunting melody grew louder, drowning out the figure's twisted laughter. What strange power awaited her in the notes? Would she and Clara be able to use it against the looming terror, or would Lila become just another lost voice among the shadows? The battleground was set, and the next move had to be hers. The fight was far from over, and Lila knew it would demand everything of her to unmask the true nature of the darkness. Would she have the strength to reclaim not only her friends but herself? The music box's melody rang out like an echo from the past, rich and evocative, weaving through the heavy air. Its notes danced around Lila, urging her to hold on to the fleeting glimmer of hope that still flickered within her. With every beat, it entwined with the shadows wrapping around her legs, trying to pull her down into despair. She could feel the energy rising in the attic, as if the essence of the memories was awakening, responding to her will. "Clara!" Lila called, her voice straining against the pressure of darkness. "Use the music. Let it guide you." Clara's spirit shimmered, a halo of luminescence pushing back against the encroaching blackness. Her eyes, once clouded with grief, now glinted with fierce determination. "Lila, I can feel something. It's like the music is calling to me, reminding me of who I am." The looming figure shifted, its grotesque features twisting with anger. "You think a child's trinket can change fate? It is merely a shackle, an echo of what was. They are bound to this despair." Lila clenched her fists, the shadows around her tightening with every pulse of the music box. "No. It's not just a trinket. It's a connection, a bridge between love and sorrow." The attic vibrated with her urgency, every corner brightening with Clara's steady glow. With a sudden surge of energy, Lila lunged toward the music box. Her fingers brushed against its cold surface, igniting a cascade of memories. The attic erupted in golden light as vivid images of Clara and Jonathan's happiest moments spiraled outward, the sparkle of summer evenings, laughter ringing out during sunset picnics, whispers of tender promises under starry skies. Each memory tumbled forth, filling the air like fireflies on a warm night, but the figure roared in rage, shadows billowing around it like thick smoke. You are foolish to challenge the darkness. Love is but a fleeting dream. It fades with time, leaving only regret. Gritting her teeth, Lila pushed back against the wave of despair. No. Love is eternal. It transcends time and pain. She focused deeply, channeling every ounce of emotion she had wrapped in the music's notes. Together, Clara. We have to confront this. Together. Clara echoed, her spirit gleaming like a beacon in the night. As their voices melded, their energies combined into an unstoppable force. The music box pulsed, the melody intensifying as it rewrote the contours of their shared memories. Suddenly, Lila felt the shadows weaken, retreating in sharp hisses. The figure peered at them, face contorting with disbelief. You think you can reshape despair into hope? It doesn't work like that. They will always return to their pain. Panic surged through Lila. The figure's word struck a nerve, whispering doubts that gnawed at her. What if the memories couldn't truly save them? What if it only amplified their suffering? But just then, Jonathan's spirit appeared, an ethereal reflection caught in the light of those memories. Clara Lila, he murmured. I remember now, I remember the love. The shadows screamed, frantically trying to snuff out the light. The music crescendoed, and Lila's heart raced. It was working. The memories were unlocking a pathway, a way to break free. Clara. Jonathan. Fight with me. Let the world remember you not for your pain but for your love. Lila cried, the words igniting fierce resolve among them, and in that moment, she felt a seismic shift in the air. The attic pulsed with an intensity that thrummed beneath her skin, urging her forward. But just as victory seemed within reach, the figure lunged, shackles of darkness gripping tight. You'll never escape. Your beliefs won't protect you from what lies ahead. The final notes of the music box turned sharp, echoing like a tolling bell. The shadows surged, eager to reclaim their lost possessions. Was this battle truly winnable? Could love and memory transcend the depths of such despair? As Lila tightened her grip on the music box, a chilling thought pierced through her. What if the memories twisted into weapons, intensifying the very sorrows they fought against? Lila stood on the precipice of something monumental, a revelation that might seal their fates. Would she have to confront not only the darkness but also the haunting secrets they held within their love? The answer lay just beyond the music's notes, a truth that could either save them or plunge them into eternal night. The shadows writhed violently, responding to the furious conflict brewing in the air. Lila's heart raced as she stared into the swirling darkness, fighting against the icy tendrils that sought to pull her back into despair. The music continued to play, each note a battle cry against the encroaching gloom. Clara. Jonathan. She shouted, desperation spilling from her lips. We have to embrace everything, our pain, our joy. Only then can we shatter this darkness. Clara's spirit flickered, caught between hope and the weight of sorrow. But what if it hurts too much? She asked, her voice trembling like a fragile candle in a storm. Just hold on to me. Lila exclaimed, pulling Clara's spirit closer in the light of their shared memories. We have to remember everything, every laugh, every tear. That's how we win. The figure howled, and Lila could feel its rage like a palpable force, the very air thickening with malice. You think dwelling on the past will save you? It spat, lunging forward to rupture their bond. Your pain is what binds you. Reliving such moments only chains you tighter. An instinctive fear gripped Lila's chest as she sensed the truth in those words. The music hesitated, its melody warring against the weight of recognition. Could she face the depths of their sorrow without being swallowed whole? But Jonathan's spirit surged forward, a glimmer of light against the darkness. "No!" he cried, resolute. "We're more than our pain. Lila Clara. Remember the laughter. Remember the love." As if summoned by his words, the bright memories rushed forward again, wrapping around them like a protective embrace. Lila could see Clara's eyes brighten, a flicker of hope igniting in her heart. And then, together, they began to sing a soft, desperate harmony rising above the chaos, melded to the notes of the music box. Their voices soared, harmonizing with the echoes of laughter, the shimmer of love, and the sweetness of shared dreams. The figure shrieked, shadows rippling like a living creature in agony. "You cannot override the truth." They suffered. The ache of loss is too vast. Their despair is timeless. But as the music rose higher, echoing their fury and defiance, Lila stood unyielding. "This isn't just about suffering. It's about love. It's about what we shared and what we still have." The attic trembled, light clashing with darkness. The shadows writhed, struggling to hold on as the music and their voices crescendoed, swallowing the bitter stillness. Lila could feel her skin prickling, electric energy rippling across her arms. Something monumental was happening. But just as she thought they were breaking through, a terrible roar filled the room. Shadows shot forward, swirling violently like a storm. Lila felt cold fingers closing around her throat, squeezing tighter. Panic surged inside her. "Embrace the pain, Lila. Embrace the truth." The figure thundered, its many faces twisting in a grotesque mockery of her fears. "You cannot hide from it any longer." Gasping, Lila felt her strength falter, her pulse racing in her ears. Was it true? Could she truly conquer the darkness lurking inside the memories, the swell of regret that threatened to drown them all? "Clara. Jonathan. We have to confront the truth. We can't let fear bind us." Lila screamed, her voice nearly lost in the chaos around her. As they strained against the darkness, memories flooded her. Clara's laughter, the warmth of Jonathan's embrace, the promise of sun-drenched days. All of it hung suspended, teetering on the edge of light and shadow. Then, the music box's melody warped, twisting and contorting like a frightened creature caught in a trap. Lila clutched it tighter, feeling its vibrations matching the intensity of her heartbeat. This was the moment of reckoning. What if love isn't enough? A small voice inside her whispered, the weight of despair crashing down like a wave. Suddenly, everything stilled. Lila's breath hitched as uncertainty seeped into her core. A question hissed through her mind like a serpent. What if the truth was too painful to confront? What if facing the memories ripped them apart instead of binding them together? With her heart poised at the brink, she faced the shadowy figure, unwavering. The music reached a feverish pitch, the light unbearably close, and just as epiphany loomed, Lila wondered, could their love withstand the ultimate test? Suddenly, everything went dark. The shadows collapsed in on themselves, darkness swallowing the light whole. Lila hunched over, gasping for breath, her heart drumming in time with the echoing silence that followed. Coldness settled like a lead weight in her stomach. Had they lost? Had the terror of their shared pain extinguished the flicker of hope they fought so firmly to ignite? But from the silence emerged a soft glow, like a lighthouse awakening through the fog. The melody of the music box began to play again, filled with a sense of urgency that jolted Lila upright. She blinked against the thick dark, recognizing Clara and Jonathan's forms emerging from the shadows as ethereal silhouettes, shining with warm light. "Remember," Clara urged, her voice echoing like a bell ringing through the stillness. "You are the catalyst. You invoked this." Though shadows swirled menacingly around them, Lila felt a strange warmth bloom in her chest. A connection that traveled from her heart into the spine of the music box surged within her, a reminder of their entwined stories that had brought them here. Memories pulsed vividly in her mind, threads of love and laughter floating and colliding alongside the bitter essence of sorrow. Love does not fade, it evolves, Jonathan's spirit breathed, his face half-lit with determination. You've ignited something powerful. It's not the shadows that bind us, it's our love that redeems. The music grew louder in her ears, each note thrumming with the intensity of truth and raw emotion. The shadows bellowed, writhed, threatened to crush their spirits further, but Lila's pulse thrived on the embrace of the memories spinning around her. She focused, breathing deeply. Together, she urged, pulling Clara and Jonathan closer with every ounce of will. Let us embrace our story, the good and the bad. We have to remember everything. The trio chorused, their voices resonating with a passionate fervor, harmonizing, recalling each shared moment vividly, the joy of first love, the sorrow of betrayal, the longing for redemption. The melody entwined effortlessly with their words. The shadows shrieked, the figure towering over them began to fragment, splintering at the seams, with every cherished recollection they conjured together, the darkness rippled, convulsing under the weight of their unified spirit. Lila's voice struck with clarity and resolve. We will not be defined by our despair. We reclaim our narrative. The shadows howled in rage, now tinged with fear as vibrant light radiated like a beacon from their hearts. Flickers of laughter danced through the air, memories poured from their souls, illuminating the suffocating dark. Beautiful moments cascaded through the chaos, a kaleidoscope of emotions bursting forth, a spectrum of love revealing their authentic selves, raw with everything that had shaped them. The menacing tower of shadows writhed, and for a moment, Lila thought she might lose them all again. But the fierce connection pulsed fiercely in her chest, and she grasped the spirit of the music box, squeezing it in affirmation. We are more than our shadows. We are a tapestry of every moment that has led us here. Emboldened, the memories forged an energy that broke the chains of yesterday, creating a new dawn. Clara's essence sparked, illuminated by love shared and lost, while Jonathan's spirit gripped it tightly, solidarity blazing between them. Together, they wielded the power of their shared truth, pain intertwined with love, and the darkness shrieked, powerless against their luminous bond. With one final push, Lila closed her eyes, filling her heart with the warmth of acceptance. The shadows collapsed in on themselves, breaking apart like ash in the wind. A brilliant light engulfed the attic, swallowing the darkness until there was nothing left but echoes of laughter, warmth, and the sweet melody of the music box, lingering in the air. Lila opened her eyes slowly, awash in golden light, the house now reverberating with the energy of release. Clara and Jonathan stood beside her. Their features softened, love etched in their expressions. The haunting weight of despair that had moments ago threatened to suffocate them was replaced with peace, a longing finally fulfilled. Thank you, Clara whispered, her voice trembling but filled with gratitude as the memories swirled around, each one vibrant and alive. For remembering. The attic transformed, revealing sun-drenched memories. Shadows retreated into whispers, replaced by fluttering pages of Clara's diary that danced beautifully in the breeze. Lila felt joy bathe her heart, an indescribable bond forming within the tapestry of their souls. Comprehension dawned. It had been love that had bridged the chasm between despair and hope, allowing them to emerge from the dark. Lila felt a new dawn break within her as Clara and Jonathan faded, their spirits set free, a testament to the endurance of love against the haunting grip of regret. As the sunlight streamed through the open attic window, Lila wiped her tears and took a long, relief-filled breath. Fear no longer constricted her heart. Strength filled her veins. She stepped outside, and into the fresh air of the world beyond. The stories that had haunted her were not merely shadows, they were a passage toward the future, and as she drove away from that haunted place, leaving behind the echoes of pain, Lila promised to cherish every moment, the laughter, the sorrow, the light, and the dark, each one a part of the beautiful, intricate tapestry of life. She would remember, and to all of you, don't forget this conclusion. Subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss the next exclusive stories. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about the ending. Instantly share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. This is the moment to show your support because only true fans understand the importance of keeping the light alive. Don't wait even one more second.